What? Oh, good morning. Oh, sorry about that. I accidentally left up what we posted to Patreon this morning. That's my bad. Let me delete this real quick. Today we are going to be talking about how these signals, or we're going to at least be paying attention to how these signals can fail. But as of right now, we have reversal signals from volatility and from many other places that do suggest that we could go through some high volatility very soon. And this could be a time where we are looking for a top as of right now. And we were looking into this extension into July 9th. I believe that's still a possibility. And we will still pay attention to how we can be wrong, even though these signals have confirmed. If you've traded for a long time and you have plenty of time in the market, then you know there are times where random things can happen, right? If everything was 100%, then the word random should not be in our language, but we do see some random occurrences, some things that you cannot understand down the line. And therefore, we have to be paying attention to how we can be wrong. But in this scenario, are we going to be wrong, considering that we did confirm a 2-hour double bottom, considering that we are retesting the 5 as of right now, and considering that volatility has confirmed a triple divergence for the daily time frame. So these are times where you want to be very much so on your toes, cautious with the long plays. Even though you want to be cautious with the long plays, it just means use your skills, right? If you have skills of management of trade, if you have the skills of risk management, then you are perfectly fine, right? You do your trader type things. Have confidence in your abilities. What is the most probable scenario for today? Well, hopefully you saw the video last night, but just in case you didn't, I'll be a nice guy and tell you that it looks like we were looking for some kind of bounce up into the daily expected move that does rotate down, but take that with a grain of salt because volatility is, as of right now, testing its 5-day moving average. So we do not have to do something like that. If we wanted to experience some volatility to break down a little bit further to take care of this gap before heading up, maybe making a divergence or something like that, if you go back and you look at the times where we did see volatility pop back in after confirming a 2-hour divergence, you will notice that one time we dipped down into positive territory and we saw a pullback, and then we saw that thing scale back up. But over here, we took our time for a bit and we actually created some divergence points down here and then made the higher low that turned you to the upside. This over here did take about 3 days to actually scale up dramatically. So are we going to remain here for the next 3 days, or are we going to see volatility kick in right away? And this is judging it based on the fact that, hey, history can repeat itself, but most of the time you want to consider the fact that history can repeat itself, but most of the time it does rhyme, right? History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. So I wanted to put that out there, that this doesn't have to behave exactly the same, but we can consider the times where volatility did come in and see that type of behavior, and then take into consideration what is happening in front of us in real time. So if the 30-minute is able to curl up and go positive here, able to make a new high, then we will most likely see volatility come back into this market. The SPY for today, though, is, if you need the daily expected move, 624.32 to the upside. We have 617.04 to the downside. We do see for the Qs that you do have 555.84 to the upside and 548.22 to the downside. The cool part about your upside daily expected move is pretty much the fact that it is right in line with where those sellers first came in, right? That gap is a form of sellers, and if we really wanted to go retest those sellers to see if they're pretty strong, we can do that. If we're able to blow past that and not see something awful after, we can raise that floor for a bit of time, but I am not leaning towards that at this time. I am leaning towards we can go make a divergence, we can go make a lower high in some way, but I think we are going to end up at that lower weekly expected move by Friday. So as we look at the SPY, this is very good stuff. I want to make sure to put this up there. And if you guys hear your baby girl yelling in the background, she's a little bit moody today. The interesting thing for the market as of right now is IWM not necessarily showing the same things the market is on the 2-hour chart. We see the 2-hour divergence from the Qs. We saw 4-hour divergence on SPX 500, which means it's both there for the SPY and the Qs. And volatility has confirmed the signal, but IWM and DIA, both of these look like, hey, 30-minute divergence. You can see it here. Once you have time in market, you're not going to have to zoom in or anything like that, but just in case, we can see it right there. You see triple divergence for your 30-minute, and you see that divergence held in the near price action. But if you get really good in market and stuff like that, I did see someone ask the question of, hey, if you had to trade one time frame, which one would it be? If you only could trade one time frame, and I would say mine would be the 2-hour chart, because the 2-hour chart, I can easily see if the 30-minute divergence is there, right? If it shows its face in any kind of way, you can really see that with a good amount of time in market. But the thing I wanted to get across about this is it's very interesting because these aren't major reversal signals, meaning DIA is suggesting it could turn up one more time, but DIA also could set up the lower high type of scenario if you're not going to make a divergence. But I thought that was pretty dang interesting. There are some stocks out there that are showing looks in the other direction. That would be a 30-minute divergence down here, kind of flat on your MACD, but pretty up there for your RSI, meaning that Tesla might want to get some kind of 2-hour reaction to try to take back and get towards 325, maybe even see a bigger reaction. We'll have to see. But you have to get through all of these sellers to do so. If you do not see a new high, but instead the 30-minute is able to curl up and then rejects at some point, that would be where the management for the trade has to come in. I want to be a little bit cautious with bullish plays in this area. Apple's another interesting one, really suggesting, hey, I want to try to continue the move, look for a 30-minute reaction to the upside. But again, 30-minute divergence here suggesting the 2-hour is going to pull back, and we are getting some pullback signals as of right now. Apple would like to seriously go retest 203, but I am looking at that top side at towards 206 to 207. If you look across the board, though, we are getting Amazon, and Amazon with Prime Day, man, it's going to just be a good time, and it's a good thing because if you didn't know this about Amazon, Amazon Prime Day is where a lot of things can convince you that they're on sale, but they're actually not. You have to be very careful about the item that you're purchasing, or if you're being manipulated to purchase that item. I wanted to say this morning because I am a big believer in you should stop consuming just because there is a sale, just because you want something. It will be very beneficial for you if you're able to just save money on things that you do not need. If you noticed, you can find products on Amazon that say, hey, this $100 product is now $75, but for Prime Day, it'll say, hey, it's now 50% off. And then you go look at the price of the item and it went up to $150 and is still just $75. Be very cautious. You can find deals on Prime Day, guys, but be very cautious of these type of things because it happens way more often than you would think, okay? Just wanted to point that out. That is something that does happen on Prime Day. So if you guys are trying to buy a bunch of stuff just because it's on sale, make sure it's an actual sale. Usually the lightning deals are better, just so you are aware. That's the most un-American thing you've ever said. Probably, but it's true. And I think it's really funny that Amazon is having its big sale day where it's going to potentially cause a bunch of sales to come out there. And we have 2-hour divergence here for Amazon. It hasn't confirmed. Maybe this will be wrong. Maybe we'll just scale up dramatically and squeeze here for Amazon. But I think that Amazon is reaching up towards a top, if you wanted my honest opinion. I don't have confirmations for that, so I'm not betting on it. But I'm really thinking about it because Amazon has a not necessarily triple divergence on your RSI, but a little bit of triple divergence there for your MACD, and you do see the divergence in the near price action at the least, meaning that Amazon may want to pull down to the bottom of this zone towards 205, but it also has the ability to pull all the way down into something like 197.95 or all the way down into about 190. So this is a pretty good reversal signal that can break down over time, and we'll see if that's able to figure its stuff out in the near term. You do have daily divergence here. You have 2-hour divergence here. So this is not necessarily looking pretty for Amazon, and another one that's not necessarily looking the prettiest, which is something that we did mention, right? We do mention the fact that this can curl up still at any time. You want to see a good confirmation here before believing like, oh, this can break that low. But NVIDIA does show that form of divergence. If you were looking for a critical thing to happen here, or maybe a hint that you are going to reverse back down, well, the 30-minute likes to curl down 2-hour charts. So if you make 30-minute divergence here or anything like that, and you actually see that pop up for a second, maybe you just see it on this RSI, be aware of any kind of confirmation to the downside. This today looks like we could run into some traps, and traps is what we overall have been building up over this last push higher. AMD is showing a similar thing, but AMD is also saying, hey, I could get some kind of reaction to the upside here. If you blow up this RSI, pull it down, you can see that there is slight move here that shows divergence. If you look at the MACD, you will see that divergence very plainly. So are we done with the upside yet? We were suggesting yesterday to watch for a bounce on Tuesday. That bounce can take you a little bit higher if this 2-hour is able to cross up. but a lower high would be something to look out for. Even though we are really close to the center line, we have a lot of room here. We have a lot of sellers in here. So a very good scenario would be actually we come up into the wick and then create the divergence right there. I think that would be very, very interesting for AMD, but I'm pretty critical of everything as of right now because of how volatility stands. You know how I'm thinking about that at this point. We suggested that this was going to happen today. It's happening today. That's awesome. As we go through some other ones, we'll see things like Meta. Meta is once again going to try to make some kind of upside move, but you can see that we're not necessarily doing the things we have to do just yet. We are below the 5-day moving average. If you look at stocks like Microsoft, you could be suggesting that there is some kind of double top and we're going to reject here. You want to be aware that this thing is still curled up above that 9. So you do not have good confirmations on some of the stocks out there, but you do have good confirmations in places like Google as well. So there are some areas where you like SoFi, right? SoFi is still doing crazy stuff. I still believe this is in a risky spot, but hey, maybe it's a short seller problem, something like that. I'm not betting against it. Why? Because there is no confirmation at this point that you need to go down to something like $16 to $15. If you go look at Palantir, Palantir is trying to curl up on the 2-hour, but Palantir is very likely to get a lower high. Where would that lower high take place? You would be really paying attention to this type of area where those big sellers came in. We can extend to that type of area and then see if we're able to reject off. If we are able to make a new high, we will be looking for an extension for Palantir. All right, so we just wanted to get through some of these. Another interesting one for me was the double top look from AVGO. We discussed this being able to extend up a little bit, and then maybe we're able to confirm. The big thing here is we do not have good confirmations from AVGO just yet. So you do have certain stocks that haven't confirmed these things, at least on the individual side especially, that you can pay attention to and see if you can execute a trade. JP Morgan is one of them that we are really paying attention to because this one has confirmed. And so my belief is that JP Morgan is going to go possibly down into something like 284 and then be able to curl up to give you the pullback, the actual daily retracement or pullback. Where could that daily go down to? Pay attention to 263.52. That looks like the first level to pay attention. If it wants to get really ugly and extend into, say, August, we would be looking for some kind of downside move down into 240, for JP Morgan. So going through a lot of these names, let's go look at gold real quick. Let's see if gold was able to, it's kind of flopping it right now, right? It's kind of flopping it right now. You are noticing that gold is overall. And why would I want to pay attention to if gold is going to not do what's shaping up here? If the 2-hour does confirm down, it means bad things, right? If we're confirming down, what you're trying to with the price, you're trying to with all these things. If this does confirm down, that would make more sense just because the dollar is actually scaling up right now. So still having the dollar scale up, still having the 10-year yield scale up pretty dramatically at this point. Will people fly into gold and use this type of structure? And we're going to see gold and the dollar go up at the same time, or is gold going to falter here for a moment? As of right now, you are rejecting potentially off of the 5, but you have been trying to take it back. So we're paying attention to what if the 4-hour chart can overall confirm. As you can see, we confirmed that for a split second on a negative bar, so not a good confirmation. We would need to see a nice green bar above, at this point, the 9 and the 5 to really be convinced that gold is going in the upward direction, but I wanted to pop through a few stocks for you guys this morning. So hopefully that's a good little base for you guys to potentially be able to make some decisions, right? To potentially practice with your paper trading, to potentially practice with just your time in market, to really just be viewing markets at this point. But we do have the opportunity to see a bunch of signals that if they were to confirm, you can try to execute a trade. Garbage Wolf up again. Dang, Wolfie boy just still going and going. And hey, it's getting there, right? If this is going to be a good thing, we should see it at least peek its head above $4 if it's going to be a really, really good thing. If we're able to peak above the zone, even better. We would see this break out, come back into this type of area, and curl up into positive territory. So Wolfie boy still moving at this point. If it rejects from this area, though, you can ping pong back and forth, kind of like Tesla is doing. You really want to see this break the upside to be convinced that it's really, really good. Because if you come into these type of areas, even if you break the upside, you can continue to ping pong back and forth between these zones, just like our buddy Tesla, right? Just like our buddy Tesla over here. Tesla overall was able to break down. We believe that Tesla was going to ping pong between these two zones. As of right now, it is ping ponging between the two zones. So that is very, very nice. But at this moment, 30-minute divergence, looking for a 2-hour reaction up for Tesla, while also poised for volatility to get some kind of reaction. I think that's very, very interesting. So I will keep a heavy eye on the VIX today. If the VIX is able to curl up here, we want to treat it pretty dang seriously. We will also look for any kind of way that this wants to remain in this area, extend in this area, like stay in this area for about 3 days, just like we did in the past. Doesn't have to be exactly the same, but it is the type of scenario we want to pay attention to. And we do have a gap down here that we could always fill by losing the 5 for just a moment. So we'll see if that's able to take place. As of this moment, the SPY is trying to see some positivity. The SPY, I think, could see positivity of 624, but as volatility is already testing the 5, we have the opportunity to see volatility come in at any point. Also, the DXY is gaining bids finally. Yeah, so people won't, right? There's the people who get in early, the people who get in with the confirmation who cause more of a ballistic move, like more of a crazier move. So we'll see if the dollar is actually able to pop off soon, like the 10-year yield. Remember that I was very critical. If you saw me on Twitter saying this, I was very critical of this. I'm even going to bring it up because I can't remember exactly what I said, but I did quote some big account because that big account did say, what was it? Not the ChatGPT thing. Oh, shoot, where is it? Oh, it was actually the US dollar, and one of them was the 10-year yield, but the US dollar is tracking for the worst year in modern history. Read that again. And then I literally reposted that and just said, you posted that the day of the bottom. And that was literally this day right into here. It was one of these days right into here that they posted that. And I was just like, yeah, you're literally posting that the day that it's trying to bottom out. In the 10-year yield, you could say the same scenario, and the 10-year yield is scaling up. So everything that we talked about last week, everything that we talked about 2 weeks ago about the 10-year yield and the dollar being able to scale up, now you're seeing the 10-year yield and the dollar scale up. So our research, our due diligence, our time in market, and our skills are proving to be very good here. This means that TLT is backing seriously off right now. Now, TLT, it would like to remain above $85. We'll see if it catches some kind of bounce, but there are no reversal signals here for TLT at the moment. So we can see reactions up, but most likely you're going to get more reactions down. You are in a pretty good negative trend, unless someone comes out and just says, hey, we're going to cut with FOMC or something like that. So I just wanted to point those things out to you guys this morning. Hopefully you are ready to go for the day, and we can get into some technical analysis on some other charts. How high can the 10-year yield go? That is a very good question. If you back this out to a monthly chart and the 10-year yield is able to scale up on the monthly chart, well, and you kind of see what we were talking about a few weeks ago, and we have J9 right there, July 9th. What is tomorrow? July 9th. This is something that really, literally our government does not want this to happen. This is why you are probably seeing people be very critical of Jay Powell. This is why you are most likely to see, I think, a cut in September, is not only because of the percentages are leading in that direction, but also because if this were to happen, we would not be able to potentially not be able to pay the interest on our debt. And that's a serious, serious problem that we do not want to see the collapse of our markets because of that. So we don't want to default in some way, right? That's kind of how it goes, even though it seems like you can't default. The American government is literally doing what every single financial advisor would tell you not to do with your money, which is go into a serious amount of debt that you cannot pay for, even the interest. That is what the US government has gotten into. And this is why it's such a big problem. This is why I believe that if the 10-year yield is allowed to just do its thing, it is going to scale up, and you are going to see maybe 10% plus mortgage rates, and that's just not going to be a good thing. They got to raise the debt ceiling every time, Lee. That's why even though I can say, hey, I don't know exactly how this big, beautiful bill is going to play out, but I am not someone who really looks at something and says, oh, we're increasing government spending by a drastic amount again, and it's going to be a good thing. That's just me. I told you guys, I voted for the guy. I'm not going to not be critical of things that I see as not necessarily good. More government spending, more inflation, more of the same problem. Now, the things within it could be different, right? The things within it could change it for the better for you, but I'd have to take a deeper look into it. And I want to just see how it happens. And overall, this would mean markets will most likely tell us that the 10-year is going to scale up. And then the 10-year hopefully does cross back down over the next couple of months. And I think you have potential for upside into even September, if you want my honest opinion. We'll see if it comes in like some kind of announcement of a cut or something like that. But yes, the 10-year is showing this type of look, which I think that considering the 10-year is showing this type of look, that if this is able to get that reaction down and not do this move, you actually have a very similar look from the housing sector. So the housing sector right here is showing that it wants one more move to the upside. This one more move to the upside is going to be very difficult if rates are very, very high. But it seems like people who've been waiting on the sidelines for years will look at the price of homes. They will say the price of homes has overall come down a little bit. And then they will say, oh, okay, the rates were getting cuts. And so if this is able to scale up here, that would be some kind of boom in the housing market. That would be very, very interesting. But we are still looking for a lower high as well from this, just in case. I do believe the market is making some kind of major top, but I believe that could take all the way into 2026 to take place at this point with the information that we do have right now. Very good question about the 10-year yield. It can scale up very dramatically right now because of all of the tariff, because of all of the things that are going on right now. We're even adding new tariffs at this point. So it can scale up. They don't want it to scale up. And if it does scale up, we run into serious, serious problems towards, like, say, August or even especially 2026 if we just let it go. So I think you're going to get a cut in September if you want my honest opinion. You see the monthly chart making divergence as well. The 30-minute here for the SPY, though, is just kind of sitting around. So if someone has something else for me to look at, I'm kind of down. Hey, Lucas, how's your morning? Looking for gold to turn up here. Yeah, gold, still paying attention to if it's going to fail. The reason that gold can be a little fishy here, the reason that gold can be a little fishy is I don't know if it's necessarily going to go up with the dollar at the same time. That's not something you see. You do see it. You just don't see it go up dramatically at the same time as the dollar going up dramatically. So we'll be watching for that. Sitting on cash, patient. And I think that's a perfectly fine thing to do, right? You can enjoy your summer a lot. You can come in the morning, watch the markets, be like, sorry, I punched the mic. You can be like, we haven't really seen that daily retracement yet, but we have terrible signals from volatility suggesting we're going to get it. Hey, we can fool around up here for all we want, but eventually we're probably at least going to test 600, or even worse, we could get down towards the monthly expected move, or even worse, we can get down to where I think we're going, which is 585. That could take all the way into August, way over here if we really wanted to discuss that. Yeah, you have no confirmation from the 4-hour for gold right now. For not necessarily GLD, but the gold futures. I'm using gold futures right now. I think they're much clearer because you have so many gaps in there. We've gotten where we are because we're not critical of government. In my opinion, we can't be critical enough. The problem with government, if you want my honest opinion of government, is politicians are very, very bad at policy. Politicians are very bad at policy. And the reason that politicians are bad at policy is because they look near term. They look at what are people going to look at here. You may see something that looks really good to you. Free money. Like, let's say free money. Free money, right? So free money sounds really good at first, but then down the line, this is what politicians are very bad at. Future. They are very bad at implementing policy that is good for the future. It is usually good for right now, but they are very bad at doing things for the future, meaning that free money will turn into what? Inflation. Okay, so This is one of the things that I say about politicians all of the time. Politicians are very, very good at convincing you that something is good for you in the near term, but in the future, is it going to be good for you on the bottom line? And it's just not. I'm sure everyone here was like, yay, I got a check for COVID times. And then they gave all the checks to all the companies and then abused that system that they told you was good for you, that really they just abused it to pay themselves and their employees and their business. And sometimes they didn't even pay their employees. They just pocketed the money and kept it in their bank accounts. What are they? The PPP loans and things like that. So taking those things into consideration, it means try not to accept things that are good in the near term, but then think of them how they would be in the future, right? This is how you kind of give your voice. You want to look for politicians that are doing good things in the future. This is why when people were talking badly about tariffs, I said this is going to be bad near term. But in the future, it can be very, very good if done properly. This is the total opposite. This is why I actually voted for Donald Trump, was because of some of these type of things. Much of what he is doing is actually setting you up for the future. Now, it's not perfect. I'm not saying he's a perfect guy. I'm not a perfect person at reading into these things. I would say that as well. But I will say that at least this is not something that is good for you up front, that is going to trick you and then be very bad for you years and years and years down the line. You can see that people are not celebrating the tariffs that much, right? That means that it most likely is going to be something that is good for the future, not for right now. But I'm not getting into any kind of political topic. I'm talking about tariffs. I'm talking about policy. I'm not going to be talking about Biden or Trump or Obama or anything like that. I don't care. What I care about is how does it actually affect me? If I sit there and I linger on this, I'm going to miss out on a signal that I'm trying to trade. And come abroad in the middle. So yeah, so you want the production to come here because that will create a source of competition. A lot of things that you see that they're telling you are very, very good have always in history been things to create less competition in the labor market. Creating less competition in the labor market causes it to be you are competing for a job. Whereas in this scenario, if you added a large amount of jobs here, it would be companies are competing for an employee. It's very cool. It might be. It might be. I still see horrible things, Metal Fuser, for 2026. Now, I believe that markets do not dictate how you live in your life. I think that you are probably going through more inflation pain now, and you will probably have not peaked yet. So, if you want my honest opinion on where we are at as far as how you're feeling in your pocket, I think that we are in the scenario where you're in that, oh, we're starting to experience pain, things are getting stretched, but I still believe we haven't peaked yet. I think we are going to experience a peak. And as markets, right, if we wanted to draw this up, now life starts to get better, life starts to get better, life starts to get better. The problem is markets go like this. Markets are much more a little bit down the line, and then they fall. So this is going to start to come up while markets still fall, is how I overall believe it. That is how deflation usually works. So I'll see if that ends up being right. I don't think that's really something that can help you out, but it can help you out as far as risk right now. And that's why I mentioned the thing about Amazon Prime. Stop consuming things that you do not need. I talked about the Netflix thing, how I'm doing it in my life, right? How I'm doing it on super micro scales. I am not willing to give big companies any kind of extra dollar. And that is just mainly because of principle, but also because it's very good for you. Yeah, let's hope for the best, Lee. You know, we always want to, even when Biden was in there, I was hoping for the best. Even when this is in there, even when people I disagree with are in there, I still wish them the best. I hope they do a good job. And then they just prove that they do bad jobs a lot of the time. Okay. Love when your stream pops up. He reminds me that I'm forever. Hey, you do those little things, you'll be very surprised, Eli, how much money that you can save. But big companies hate me. I must fund them. Oh, yeah, I'm sure Amazon is just the person that you want to go work for in the warehouse where they try to get you to quit your job. They purposely don't put AC in a lot of the warehouses so that you quit your job so that you only stay there for 2 years so you don't get an increase in pay. That is something that Amazon does do. All right, let's look at some stocks though. Get debt free. That's right. Bernie knows. Bernie knows what's up. What happens if VIX doesn't hold the 5? Doesn't really matter. At this point, you would say that the 2 hour is curling down, the 2 hour is positive. It is when we make a new low that starts to become a problem. So you haven't made a new low yet. You literally can go all the way down to this gap if you wanted to. If you consider what happened in the past, look over here how you lost the 5. You lose the 5. Did it matter? No. Now, it does matter to pay attention to it, but at this point, we weren't able to curl over the MACD. So maybe you do want to read into this a little bit. Maybe we do want to go down and test this low, okay? Because we are technically getting confirmation in an hour and 22 minutes for what's going on this 2 hour chart. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but it most likely will rhyme here in some way. It doesn't mean it can't be trickier than you think. All right, but either way, you want to treat this very carefully. You have confirmed the 2 hour signal. The 2 hour is positive. The 30-minute is in range of going positive, but it is negative. So you are correct to be critical of it. But at the same time, the daily has confirmed the signal. The daily has not unconfirmed the signal as of right now for volatility. Until these things unconfirm, you won't hear me saying bullish things. And look at this. PCC going dramatically bullish at this moment. We'll see if we get that 30-minute reaction to the daily expected move, because we still saw the most probable thing was we are going to react up to a daily expected move and look for a lower high or divergence. If we're able to scream, then we would say we have risen the floor. DoorDash is evil, bro. Like I had a friend. I think it's my sister-in-law. I can't remember who it was, but they were paying. So let's say a meal, if you just drive there, is $10. They were paying $25 a meal so they didn't have to drive. They were blatantly wasting, like comparing like 15 cents in gas or 30 cents, let's say 50 cents in gas. They were trading 50 cents in gas and the ability to sit in a chair and wait for someone to deliver it to you for pretty much an additional $15. So, like, get off your ass and go get food. Like, seriously, save money. Unless you can't, right? There are scenarios where I see it as a very, very good thing, like a very helpful thing. But if you are a person that can walk, you're a person that can drive, you're a person that is overall is a functioning human being, go get your food, save money. I've only used it. I've only used DoorDash once in the last 3 years. And it's because a buddy of mine DoorDashes. I didn't even use the app. I said, hey, you're DoorDashing. I want to give you all of the money. And so if you just bring me something because me and my wife are stuck at home, I will give that to you. That's when baby was a newborn. We did that. And my buddy was like, sick, I get to keep all the money. Like, that's what I did. Call your buddy and have him bring it to you and give him an extra $5. Like, that's better than paying for DoorDash. I'm sorry, Metal Fuser, but am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. If you're complaining about, say, things being really expensive, but you're the one fueling the things that are making everything more expensive, we all need to change, truly. And the sad part is it has to be a big mass thing, but you can be that person who starts it, right? Your example can flood into other people. It's very, very nice. She is. She's from Ecuador. She's Ecuadorian and Italian. So for confirmation, Matthew May. So as far as it goes, let's do JP Morgan. Let's go look at JP Morgan. So this one is playing out. It's doing very nicely. We have lost the low. This is all you really need. You can lose this one. You can go tap into it. Let me look at weekly expected move. What? Okay, there it goes. Sorry, my mouse messed up for a quick second. Let me go look at weekly expected move for JP Morgan for right now. Perfect. Okay, so this is all you need. So now we're looking for this kind of lip over here. probably put that on to like Friday. So we can remain here for a bit of time, but as of right now, this would be something very, very nice. What is confirmation of this? Well, if you look at the 2-hour signal, so the things you need for confirmation, and we go in heavy detail about this. You guys know we always put the course on the $200 sale. I think I've already updated it actually. I think it's already on there because I'm lazy. But we do a sale for August because of my birthday for the course. Something that we normally go over very extensively is confirmations and like what you're really looking for, and we go through it step by step. So a lot of what's going on here is I need to see this. So the first thing is, hey, has my MACD crossed down? Yes, it has. But notice that this is crossed down while we have a negative bar here, but it's still above the 5, it's still above the 9. And the main thing here is the 9-day moving, or the 9 on the chart that you're looking at. So this would be a 9 on the 2-hour. So this did confirm right here on the MACD. But is that enough? And it's a big question of how much risk do you want to assume? If you wanted to take this signal, like right there, just with a MACD crossing down and an RSI crossing down, you have 2 out of 3. That's perfectly fine. A lot of the time, what I like to do is wait, or I would look for hints on the 30-minute. If I don't get a hint on the 30-minute, then I wait for the confirmation where in the price action, in the actual bars, I'm seeing it close a negative bar below the 9-day, or the 9 on the 2-hour. Sorry, I keep messing that up for some reason. And then I would say, okay, this is very likely to go where? To a weekly expected move. And then we went to a weekly expected move. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Now, management for the trade, we go into that and things like that, but this is playing out. This is at a weekly expected move. So what is very likely to happen at a weekly expected move? Well, if I'm short on JP Morgan for the next 2 months, I might not even be really paying attention to this. But if I only have like a week, let's say I have a Friday expiration, should I expect, maybe the chat can answer this, maybe some people who took the course, maybe some people part of Patreon. If I catch a signal and it goes immediately down to the weekly expected move on a Tuesday, do you think we're going to bounce? Do you think there's a pretty good probability that you're going to bounce? Yes. So if we are going to bounce, very good. If we are going to bounce potentially from this move, it means if I only have Friday, like I'm shorting JP Morgan into Friday and I catch this move, I should not expect more than this. This is what weekly expected moves unlock for you. And Bruce, stop growling. Be a little nuisance. So you will normally bounce from these type of levels, or at least have a high probability to bounce. If you take into consideration the weekly expected move, this means that JP Morgan is likely to 68% chance to see a bounce by Friday close. Now, what we want to consider here is we're doing it early on in the week. We have major reversal signals and volatility has confirmed it. So if I'm extended out, say I'm shorting JP Morgan into the end of the month, what's the other type of decision I can make here? When we hit a weekly expected move? What's the other type of decision that you guys can maybe come up with? What's another type of decision if I have 10 contracts that say JP Morgan is going down to 280 by the end of this month, or maybe by the end of August? Maybe I took that kind of play with that signal because I'm like, you're going to get a daily retracement. What's something that I could do here? Trim, reload later. I think that's a good way to put it. I say it a little differently, Kevin, but overall, what you would say here is, I saw a big move. I caught a big move. The premium of those options that I took are most likely going up. And if they have risen up to a price point that I really do like, I could potentially sell all of them, try to catch a bounce and retest, and then get back in. Now, I am giving up the opportunity cost if something more dire and drastic happened here. So I think what you're saying is actually a better way to put it. Trim and look for a bounce to maybe reload. You take some sort of profit on the big move down, and then you say, but I'm going to keep some of those contracts as runners. Maybe I'm even able to break even, but I can hold on to, instead of 10, I hold on to 5 contracts. And then if we get some kind of bounce that then bounces up and rolls again, I can reload and get a little bit cheaper price, and then see that come down to something like 280, where I would want to make my next decision, or a weekly expected move the next week. Leave, yeah, re-enter, leave one, exactly, yeah. So Matthew, I hope that was very, very clear to you. We go over it for like, they each have pretty much their individual videos in the course, Matthew, but that's kind of your crash course. So you guys are getting a little, you guys got the crash course. I appreciate you guys showing up to the live show. I try to just help people out in any way that I can. We just go more extensive into it, and practice is something that we shout out all the time. And practice doesn't mean you have to risk money. I like the idea of risking just tiny amounts to see how your emotions will be, but you can just paper trade if you need time in market before you're comfortable or you have confidence in your skills or these type of things. They can fail, and so what would have failed this signal is the 2-hour confirmed down, and then the 30-minute bounces off of the 5. That's how this really failed here, but it did not do that. So weekly expected move, fantastic. Now we're looking for this, in my opinion. It's either that or we're just going to go. So see something a little crazy. Very good questions. Very good questions today. God dang. Should I get out of my gold calls? It really depends. I didn't necessarily get the 4-hour confirmation to say like, yes, I'm going to take calls. Now you did get it, but once again, let's go over Matthew's question. All right, let's talk about this for a second. This is kind of like a swing trade, right? You're looking for the left head, right shoulder. Okay, awesome. We're breaking down a little further than we expected. We got a confirmation. Oh my God, there's a green bar on my MACD. We're crossed up on the RSI. This is all good stuff, right? If you take any of these, management for the trade, but if you're looking for all three at the same time, well, you would probably say, okay, RSI is curled up, MACD's curled up. It's really close to the center line, and the price action looks good because it's above the 9. There's a problem here. What's the problem? Is this a positive bar above the 9? You're looking for calls, so you need a positive bar above the 9. Is this right here a positive bar above the 9? No, it's not. It is a negative one. So that tells me to wait. That tells me to be patient. Look for the next one. So notice that because this is not a positive bar, it's struggling. Now, this easily could have been a negative bar, and then you see a green one and it just starts to go. But I like to wait for my exact things to happen. If I'm being totally honest, I like my exact reasons to happen. And this is why I have skills on multiple time frames, though. This is why I use multiple time frames, because I don't want to have to get in at the swing trade. If it gave me 2-hour divergence right here, that's where I would like to make my decision. And then I could manage up in here, potentially even make some money at that point. So we'll see. But you didn't have 2-hour divergence or anything like that for gold futures. So as of right now, you're rolling. The momentum is pointing down in negative territory for the 4-hour chart. That's not a good sign. The 2-hour chart is curling down as of right now into what? Negative territory. So it's not necessarily a good sign. What you are looking for right now is the 2-hour to turn down and just whip right back up. So I think the better time to have calls is after we see what this wants to do, and maybe the 2-hour is able to curl up eventually. That would be a little bit better timing, but you don't have good confirmations that gold is going to see upside just yet. It's a tricky game, and this is why I shout out the things like trade like water. You want to take into consideration that you can be wrong, and then you also want to take into consideration trading like water does not mean random decision making. Trade like water overall means I want to end up in the meadow, not in the it clown, right? Not with the it clown. So I want to make sure to wait for those confirmations and practice patience, even in those little times. That's why I like trading 30-minute charts. You don't have to be dramatically patient for a 30-minute or even a 2-hour chart. 2-hour chart, you wait a few days. 30-minute, usually you wait like a day. You, of course, that teach this stuff. Yeah, there's descriptions down there. I think I already changed the price to be for the August sale. You can go check it out. It shouldn't be 400 anymore, but you can go check it out if you guys want to go look at it. If it's something for you, if you want to wait until August, we'll talk about the course more in August. But there's always material for you down there. And even if you just wanted to join the Patreon to start off until August and you just wanted to see the type of things we are talking about in there, we do an update video every single week. Wolf is just, wait. Is it backing off? I still want it to go, I wanted to go more ballistic. This is great. It's great to show like, hey, we're trying to break out. It's just, I would like to see, I mean, maybe you get the quick retest, right? But right now I would say ping-ponging until I at least see like a break above here. Then you have a little bit of like, yeah, we could break that upside. I would rather see this. The best way for this to behave is like you break, you pull back, you break again. If there's a short seller problem here though, guys, if there's a short seller problem here though, this thing can just scale up at any time. And it already is, right? I think you've had like 100% days. Yeah, you've had like 100%, 50%, 100% almost, 30%. So you're getting some runs here. There weren't a lot of things to hint you about this except for the divergences down on the MACD. So you only had like 2 reasons. But notice the confirmation is very good, right, Matthew? Now we can consider this as we talk through, Matthew. It doesn't stop there. We can look at these and look for good confirmation. Do you see the difference here between like gold and even Wolf? Do you see how this is curled up, but it's also above the 9? It's also positive, and it even took back the 5 here as well. Like, this is all very good things. That's what starts big momentum a lot of the time. This is usually the perfect confirmation you're looking for. It doesn't matter. I don't care what the wick looks like. I don't care what any of that shit looks like. If it is a positive bar above the 9, I execute, and then I have my management for the trade if I'm going to be wrong. You are not going to be right 100% of the time when this happens. These signals do not play out 100% of the time. Don't be convinced they do, right? Technical analysis is not a science. Technical analysis is a probability. Technical analysis is not 100%. Okay? Once you start to realize that and you humble yourself for it and be like, I can't know 100%. I have to be aware of how it can be wrong. It will really help you out over time. Tesla curling up on those divergences, though. I don't know what Tesla's doing, man. I don't know if this is going to see a random 2-hour move. The thing that with Tesla that is a problem is you have a huge layer of sellers. If you really wanted to do what, like, day traders would do on like 1 minute or 5 minute charts, you would potentially be marking off like the bottom of this area and then marking off this area right here and kind of just going, okay, so it looks like this area right here could be a problem. What's at that area? The 5-day. Okay, so if you're going to reject as far as price action, not necessarily technical analysis goes, if you're going to reject from this gap, then you would say I would be looking for a rejection around 305.50 to 3, like pretty much anywhere in this zone, but you'd be heavily paying attention to 305.60. And so if I'm saying, oh, Tesla is going to make a new high here, Tesla's going to do this, well, then I just watch in here, watch in here, watch in here. If it rolls, it's not going to get there. If I see it go like this and curl down into negative territory, when things curl down in negative territory, does that mean they're going to go like this? Or does it more likely mean they're going to do this or flag or something like that? Yeah. So I'm talking about this as far as risk goes because volatility has such interesting signals. But normally when you see this in high volatility times, you will see the 2-hour be able to curl up and take back and try to make a new high. Just take it with a grain of salt. I mean, this isn't necessarily something you want to mess around with right now until you are very, very sure. We're not even like volatility got to the 5-day retest without the SPY even getting to a daily expected move. I think that's pretty crazy. Why so serious? What did my wife say to me yesterday? She was a little bit annoyed because my ADHD was kicking in. I wasn't paying attention to her. And she said, she yelled at me and she said, look at me. And I turned around and went, look at me. And I was like, Batman? And she didn't giggle. She was like, no, I need your help with something. I was like, oh, my bad. Sometimes like my wife loves that I'm goofy. She loves that I'm goofy, but sometimes I'm goofy too often. And she goes, dude, just come help me. God bless that woman. EU trade deal is potential temporarily bullish impact. Should I weigh it with short puts even if divergences confirm on a higher time frame? So Victor, this is where I try to say things like this. Do you trust your signals or do you trust fundamentals? You silly goober. So Victor, that's a question I have for you. Which one do you trust more? Or do you trust your skills enough to know, hey, I see this signal, I see a confirmation, I can take that and be aware of the fundamentals. So maybe I just want to seriously watch it while that is happening to make sure there's nothing that contradicts my play. Right? Do you trust the news fundamentals? Do you trust your skills with technical analysis? That's what it comes down to. If you don't trust what is going on in front of you, if you don't trust what you're doing, it's not going to end very well most of the time. If I don't trust myself, I had to cut up a tree for my mother-in-law, right? I had to literally, a tree fell down because of a big storm. I had to cut up a whole tree. They tried to charge her $300. I was like, screw that. Give me a handsaw. Give me a handsaw in 2 hours, and I can do that. And I did it. But I didn't go get my dad's chainsaw. Why didn't I go get my dad's chainsaw? I've only used a chainsaw once in my life, and I think it was like 10 years ago. So am I going to take that risk, right? That's kind of it. Do I trust myself more with the handsaw? Do I trust myself more with the chainsaw? I trust myself with the handsaw. You know what I'm saying? Me with the guys dancing carrying a coffin. Chainsaw risk is at the end of the day, it's not the best analogy. I'm not an idiot with tools and things like that. Like I'm very safe with everything, but for me, I was just like, it was more a fact of like I needed to get it done, but I just wanted to create a little maybe sort of analogy that can register. I like my little analogies. They're fun. I had a good one I wanted to share with you guys, and I totally forgot it. Oh, I had a good one. I had a good one yesterday. So Victor, my what I'm trying to do to you is I'm trying to gas you up. I'm being 100% with you, Victor. I have confidence that you are a smart human being. You can type in a chat right now. There's a lot of kids in California that can't do that. They can't even read what you're saying, right? So you are an intelligent person, I think. I think that you maybe even need to have a little bit more confidence in yourself. Have confidence in the fact that you can be wrong, and have confidence in your skill to manage trades. Have confidence in the management of risk at the stage of buying the position to say, I'm not going to risk all of my $100,000 on one play for just a day. Have confidence in yourself. Have confidence in yourself and your skills. Right, Kush? Well, it's not just there. I'm poking fun, and I shouldn't really make fun of that. I think that's a big problem that we need to. It really does make me sad on the inside. I'm a pretty comedic person overall, but it does kind of hit me in the gut a little bit because I have a baby girl now, and she's already like trying to read. It's terrible. But she'll just look at a book and touch the words and go da 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 da, da because we read to her very often, mainly my wife. But yeah, I just want to share that. I want to gas you up and say you are capable of doing this. It's just you have to try. You have to trust yourself. And if you make a wrong decision, it wasn't meant to be, right? Treat it like that. If you make a wrong decision, it wasn't meant to be, right? Just say, okay, I made a mistake. How can I learn from this? The people who go through something bad and still are able to come out the other end thinking positively in some light or not a completely negative, you will be able to move differently than someone who's very negative who will continue to go into a negative loop. Can she read a chart yet? She always wants to. She always wants to, especially critical thinking. Well, exactly. Exactly, Fritz. You are totally right. You need to critical thinking and being able to read and write is the base level thing that unlocks your power as, I would say, a human being. It does. And so if you're someone who's not the best at, I'm not the best reader. I'm not. I know I'm not. I have ADHD. It's very hard for me to sit down and just like read 100 pages. My wife can read a whole book in a day. She's a great reader, but I'm better at reading out loud. Imagine she could read a chart before reading a book. I think she could because it's shapes. Give her first 1K account, let her do her thing. That girl's just going to buy Petco or something over and over. All she likes, like, is she'd probably buy is Cat's Caterpillar, Cat Caterpillar. She'd probably buy this, just because it says cat. That's what my daughter. That's the level of trading my daughter is probably at. I'm like, what do you want to buy? She goes, cat. Or she would say, well, actually, is there a gato? She says gato. All right, Gator Capital Long Short Fund. No, this is. She says gato. Good strat. Yeah, I'm glad we can have some fun today, guys, as we're kind of watching the market do what the market wants to do. Keep your eyes peeled, right? Really be paying attention to your plays, even if you're having some time being patient, having some fun with us talking about random things. But I do like to share these type of things with the community because I really want to still show every single day on this channel how I prioritize things in life. And that's why I talk about my family so much. They are always on my mind. She's like, the Macdi, the Makda. Oh, we'll bring her on. We'll bring her on for a live show one day. Think market wants to do nothing until next week. Vixpiration, OPEX. Oh, Opti Pulse. Very, very good point. Yeah, so you are very right to bring up Vixpiration and OPEX. If we want to leak out the problem into an OPEX, that would be very, very interesting. Okay, you can easily do that. A lot of the time I like to look at the beginning of the month and see, okay, in July, we have headed in what direction? Up, but we are still technically in the first full week of July. So we have to see how things behave here. What I would be looking for here is just, hey, that's a point to pay attention. What do signals look like? But what do signals look like before? So when we get to Vixpiration, it will be a matter of what? How do we treat Vixpiration? We treat Vixpiration like what? If it is very low before Vixpiration, then we will see it start to scale up maybe during that time, right? Something like that. If it is very high during Vixpiration, which it was around this point right here, then we are about to see it get low. Yeah, it kind of matters of like the repricing. So as of right now, does volatility, do VIX options need to be repriced? I would say not necessarily. I would say no as of right now. We'll see. But yes, it is a good time to pay attention. And a lot of the time I do mark those off. You know, we'll mark those off and put like, you know, whatever it is. But is that? That's so crazy. That's like next week, isn't it? I guess July 11th this week, July 18th expiration. Yeah. Bro. Yeah, I'll tell her, MK. I'll tell her for you. Dog. Does she I wish there was a stock called Bruce. Because she says brew. Is there a brew stock? Oh, dang. Maybe brew. Dang. She calls Bruce brew. But very good. Thank you, OptiPulse, for mentioning that. We will see what's able to take place here. But the point of this is you have signals confirming now. So if we see a spike in volatility and we go into, say, and this is all theoretical, right? Don't pay attention to these lines. This is theoretical judging Vixpiration. If we see volatility into Vixpiration, we would want to probably suggest some kind of what? Some kind of bounce is going to come during that time. And then after OPEX, we will most likely fall that move. That would be how I would see it for now. We'll see how it changes before then, though, because all we have to do to change that is scale up. Oh, we see a drop with Vixpiration, right? Scale up, drop with Vixpiration, one more euphoric move, OPEX, down. That's the continuation in July, and that can leak out all the way into the 31st, really. Can you look at Tilray? We haven't looked at this in a while. Let's go check that out. Woo! Woo! It's very tight, so very difficult to make a decision. I would say like shorting one that is this tight on the 30-minute, little bit rough, right? If you look at the daily scale, you have tons of divergence down here. I could tell that from the 30-minute. You can see tons of daily divergences down here. So this is just now starting to go positive. So where is it most likely going to try to go? Let's mark that off for you. Let's give you a place to pay attention. Look at that high. You need to take that out. Right? So we're going to include the high, include the low. We can see good resistances right in here, so that's pretty good. And then we would want to mark this in green. If you get through it, that's a good thing. If you get up into this type of level, that's still a good thing, right? But if you stop short and you just dink your head here, you might go all the way back. All right, if you just stop short and go bink, you're going to go all the way back before you see any more positivity. But this is all those divergences. This likes to turn up weekly charts for sure. You actually had a good confirmation last week. If this really wants to see good things, you would like that to do what? Left, head, quick little retest for a right shoulder like this. That would be the best way for this to head higher, in my opinion. If we're just going to blow this thing through the roof, right? If there's some kind of problem going on here that I'm not aware of because it is a small stock, then I would say I'd be paying attention to a lot of things up towards this area. Very difficult to mark that off because we have such sporadic movement. But what you would want to see is I would probably, in this case, not necessarily make a zone, but mark off where I see the most touches that can become resistance. So you see how we have this touch, this touch, this touch almost got there, this touch right here, we got a wick below it, we got this. And then once we rolled that area, bad things started to happen. So I would say 162. If you can take back 162 and remain above it, that can be a good thing for Tilray. Does that help you out a little bit there? Monumental, just want to make sure. That's if you see something crazy, guys, right? I'm going over if you see something crazy because I think you're in the time where you can see crazy things. Remember when I said July? I think you can see like mega squeezes. I still believe that is relatively true. And I still believe that AMC could just curl up on a 30-minute and not look too bad. Right? This has been managed at this point. I will get back into this play if the 30-minute can cross up into positive territory. I was able to break even on the downside, so it's not a problem. Rain, you want to look at that? Because, oh, by the way, the reason I'm pulling up AMC, 2-hour divergence has confirmed. It has slightly unconfirmed, but you notice not on your RSI, not on your MACD. So your indicators are still suggesting like things are not as bad as they seem. Okay? Let's go look at this real quick. I don't think I've looked at this one before, so... Oh, an energy fund. Okay. Wait, is this... This isn't correct. Rain. Yeah, this isn't correct. Thank you for typing it so I can see it. Thank you for typing the ticker. Typing the ticker does really help. In this case, do you have weekly? No, you don't. You want to see where those big sellers came in. So really, you want to take all of this out. That's what I would say. I would say if I was going to create a zone here for a weekly chart, I would be looking here. You do have forms of, I would say, daily divergence. You have forms that this has tapered off and started to try to turn around. If you wanted to go into shorter time frames, you would say 2-hour pullback. If the 2 hour is able to confirm, where does it want to try to test? Somewhere around $23. Yeah, appreciate it, Luis. I typed it wrong. Apple can be the way that these things with like the ones that are say up and need 2-hour pullbacks, and you have this type of signal from volatility happening, and you see reversal signals for the Qs and things like that, and reversal signals for Nvidia and Amazon and maybe Meta, maybe Microsoft, maybe it's Google, AMD, like these things are reversing down. You'd look for lower high. So if Apple's going to be really, really bad here, then the 2 hours should see something a little bit bad. It should be a little bad. And then we're going to use those sellers to fall again. So lower high is what you would look for in this type of scenario based on other things in the market. But if Apple's able to remain in this area and just curl up a 2-hour chart, then you would be looking for a test of the high. But right now, I'm leaning towards 206 to 207. 30-minute can get a reaction here, though, and give you the lower high to get there. Then we might be able to see that reaction up. So 2-hour lower high, I think, is more probable for Apple. And I think right now, you would say a 30-minute lower high is pretty probable, right? Left, head, right shoulder. We'll leave that for now. I think that's pretty probable. If you look at the 5-minute here, you should have divergences all across this. So you got a good shot at that 30-minute able to turn up for a moment. see, do I have a weekly move for this? Volatility's still holding, bouncing right off of that, about 1683. Bouncing off of 1685. Just pull up Apple real quick here. Yeah, Apple's in a weird spot. Yeah, it looks like 30-minute lower high is the most probable there for Apple. If you're able to hold positive trend, not necessarily a bad thing. But what you're looking for here is, hey, we dabbled into going negative. Hey, if that curl's positive, you want to treat it like it can test the high and go make a new one. I don't want to be in shorts if this 30-minute curls up, but if it curls back down, this would be the time where it's like, yeah, I'm going to go to 203 with a higher probability to do so, right? Use your management of risk skills. SPY's just going to like, what, sit here until we get the excuse. Okay, cool. That registered, Luis. Good. Seems like at least some kind of momentum shift. Momentum has already shifted or started to, right? Momentum has shifted. Momentum has shifted. It's just, do we get that little reaction up? Do we set another trap today? This is why Trap Tuesday is the title of our video. Do we set the trap today or tomorrow? Do we set the July 9th trap? Right? Get whacked Wednesday? Is that what's going to happen? We'll find out. Just hopefully you don't get whacked. Finding out that way is a little bit rough, right, Miguel? Yeah, Apple and Tesla are super interesting to me. So I'm more inclined to pay attention to what the Amazons and Nvidias and Amazon. There you go. Okay, here we go. So Matthew was asking about confirmation. You would want to see this. As far as confirmations go, we do talk about this a little bit in the course. We look for at least the last, like, I think it said the last 25%. So the last 30 minutes is where you can say, okay, I can maybe make a decision at that point, or I could wait for the full confirmation. Every title next week. Every title next week from people you don't trust will be probably like, if we bounce, I guarantee you the next day they're going to say, is this the bottom? I don't think you're going to bottom out in a week. I think it'll take at least 2. I think that you could leak this into August if you really wanted to. It really depends on, do we get any kind of announcement of a potential cut or cut itself in September? Mafia Wednesday. Will Nvidia ever come back to $100? As of right now, that's not on the table. It will, but it might not be till like 2026, 2027, in my opinion. So that's my opinion. So I can also say the fact that I don't know with enough confidence if we saw a random move down there. But as of right now, the levels for Nvidia to watch are pretty damn clear. Really, we should make another one. Really, you should take this bundle in here just in case. But you would say a pullback to where? A pullback to here. So 143.50, a pullback to 133. That's what I'm leaning towards. But you do have the availability if it's really, really bad for a more extended period of time, say 2, maybe even 2.5 months, like September, until we actually get the cut. You can end up to 115. But 100 is not really on the table here, and this is almost not on the table at all. Like 115 is almost not on the table. We would have to really see this thing breaking down over time. It is much more probable to go down and retest 133 or gap fill, right? This zone. So say the bottom of that zone is 129 after the split. 634 daily move for the spot. Yes, so always in red, okay, guys? If you're semi-new here or you're popping in for the first time, daily expected moves are 68% zones that we calculate using the options data. There are hard numbers behind these lines. These are not random lines that I see as support and resistance. This is why I really like these lines. There's no bias to this whatsoever. These are mathematical areas where the market has priced in certain moves. These are shrunken. These are smaller. So this means we can see something surprising. As they get smaller and smaller, you open up the window for people to get complacent in this type of scenario. But I don't like AI and Nvidia. Oh, I don't invest in too many AI companies. I'll trade it for an option or something like that. But like the whole Netflix thing, like all the things I'm talking about as far as saving money with Amazon Prime Day, you don't have to consume just because there's a sale and there's a random thing that you see that they say is 50% off when yesterday it was 25% off for the same price. There is that type of manipulation that does happen on Amazon Prime deals. So I do the same thing with AI. I do not invest in AI companies. I do not want to give AI companies big amounts of my money because I do not think AI is a good thing for the world. I don't think that at all. I think that the downside for AI is way bigger than the upside for AI. And I think AI will just lean us more and more towards everyone has a white house, everyone has the exact same house, everyone wears the exact same clothes, everyone does the exact same things, everyone sits in front of the exact same TV. Everything will move towards efficient, 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 and all beauty will be taken out of the world for efficiency. You will give up beauty for convenience. That's what I think. That's my opinion, and that's fine. You could have a totally different opinion, and you can call me an idiot, but I live my life for having fun with my family. I don't need AI to have fun with my family at all. I'll trade the stocks to make money off them for my family, but I'm not going to use AI. You're describing the Wall-E movie? Hey, it won't be like that. I think it would more lean towards the social structure of do you guys ever see Black Mirror, where the social, like you have a social meter and everything you get is based on social? Pretty much it'll be like North Korea everywhere. That's what I think. I don't think that'll be like now, like by any means. We might be like hundreds of years off from that. I'll probably be dead by that time, but that we keep going this direction. That's what I believe. I don't want to be here when that happens personally. You will have individuality. You will be convinced it is individuality, but you all will believe the same things because you'll use AI for your thinking. Here, I'll show you. I will show you. It's already happening. So a lot of people saw this on Twitter too. I say Twitter, but it's not Twitter, I guess. Unusual whales posted. ChatGPT can harm an individual's critical thinking over time per MIT's Media Lab research, quoted in The Hill. I said, wow, it's almost like my common sense called this for years now. Stop using AI or you will give up your ability to think for convenience. That convenience is you getting whatever answer whoever is programming the AI wants you to get. You will get the efficient answer. You will get the answer that is said. I know this because I've tested AI multiple times. I've tested AI on simple questions, and it gets it wrong, and it tells me the politically correct thing on almost every single AI. It does it. That's me. I'm a skeptic about it. I'm this guy. Hey, soccer for you? Hey, I'll play soccer with you. IYC, man. You ever come hang out with me? We'll kick a ball, man. Yeah, I am down. I have a guy that wants me to, I was talking to him about, he's here for his family. I was talking to him about soccer and how I train kids back when I was a personal trainer. And because I used to do training on the side. And he was like, dude, I want to fly you to Houston and I want to give you a job. And I was like, I like what I do. I like my life. Oh, you're a coach? Awesome. We should chat sometime, IYC, man. Shoot me an email, buddy. I'll chat with you. I want to pick your brain. Social currency. Yes, Kush. You're already seeing it now. You just don't even notice it. You're already seeing it. They want it to go that direction, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm being like, we're not even talking about stocks today. Like, let's just talk about stocks. Hey, guys, to build my next system with Amazon days are on. Look for if it's a good deal. I do have a good computer that I really like. It is technically a gaming computer, but it does function really, really well. If you look up the Predator Helios, it is not a crazy, crazy price, but I guarantee you it is just like fantastic. It's my ADHD's kicking. Oh, you like to build? I could ask my brother, Richard. My brother builds his own PCs. Yeah, I built one with him, but I had no idea what I was building. Like he did all of that. Like I'm not the person to ask about those things, but my brother definitely would be. So I'm supposed to go see him today. Actually, I got to text him back. He texted me this morning. I got to give him a hand today. Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. I will car's in the shop, needs a ride to his office. Wasn't there some weird thing with AI recently? Like it like deleted itself and tried to build it back or something. It was so weird. Something weird I saw, but 30 minute, we'll see if this is able to trail to the upside towards that. Remember, the more probable thing is still this into this. If we're able to do this, hey, that can change. We'll see if we do that afterwards. Someone did ask about IWM earlier. IWM is kind of in its own boat, and I think IWM will see a new high here. If we get good confirmation, which you're already seeing forms of good confirmation, if you get all three, I think you're going to test this high or even go make a new one. Just crazy to say, but that's how it seems. We haven't made any kind of trend low. If we roll this, that changes. Well, that's the cool phrase for its. The phrase is what? Oh, what is it? Oh God, there's a cool phrase for it. I'll have to find it. Maybe next time. Tesla curling up, yeah, with divergence. So this 2 hour is about to maybe get going. So 30 minute, you have good confirmations here that Tesla is going to try to test this high or go make a new one for the 30 minute. The 2 hour is suggesting, hey, I can curl up into what? Maybe I can even go positive here. Really, this is a signal that you could see, right? You do have some indication. This is why Tesla is so weird right now. You have these volatility signals, but at the same time, Tesla is showing the 2 hour divergence technically on your RSI, not necessarily on the MACD at the same time. But you do have one form that says there is a probability that Tesla can curl up a daily chart. I have a hard time believing that with how things lie as far as volatility goes, like the Qs signals and things like that, NVIDIA and all those. But if you trust the signal and you trust your skills, what's the problem here? Nothing. This is a setup. You were at a weekly expected move. You curled up. Your 2 hour is supposed to get a move here with a higher probability. If it fails, it fails. You have the management for the trade. Coaching is a lot more of a mental game than you think. It's a lot more about basics and a lot more about a mentality as far as personal training goes. Like if America wants to get really good at soccer, we should stop trying to win championships. Like you should develop the individual player first at a younger age. That's what they do in Europe, and it's much better. So yes, Christopher, you are right to pull up Tesla, and you do have reversal signals that even suggest a daily chart could curl up. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, this is why you hear stories about football coaches being able to be very, very good soccer coaches, is for that reason. Ted Lasso, yeah, TJ. Technically, I mean, Yeah, I don't watch a lot. I do not watch a lot of soccer. It makes me feel very, very bad. I will be honest about that. Watching soccer makes me not feel good. Exactly, Suri. I was one of those people who was literally there, right? I had the scouts from New York Red Bulls and New York FC coming, and God said it wasn't in my plan, and I was very upset back then. But hey, it brought me to here now with the family I have, so I appreciate it now. Maybe I could go watch a game. I just haven't watched especially in person. I haven't watched a game in years. I'll still watch World Cup and things like that, but yeah, it doesn't make me feel the best. Believe it or not, you can believe that I'm full of shit. You know, I'm sure people say that stuff all the time, but um, I don't really care if you believe it or not. um, God dang, Tesla's gonna. So remember this though. Remember, we'll put the zone up. I'm gonna put the zone up. It's pretty much this. This is where you have to watch out. This is where you have a chance to go higher, but still you have to watch out. This is where things start to look pretty good. So we can leave that here if you'd like. So technically, the signals that you do have here would suggest that this is going to take place. So we can leave that there if you'd like. Yeah, so if you're using it for like research and simple things like that, I'm talking critical thinking. If I ask it, how do I build a table? That's a lot different than I ask it like a theoretical or a philosophical or some kind of question that really, really, really matters. Right? If I'm just using it like a Google search, that's a lot different. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Rajiv. Rajiv, you're hitting the nail on the head there, man. You could just reject from here and head down. So with so this is what this so Tesla alone would suggest this little Harry Potter is going to happen right here. Volatility in the other state in the market would make you have to be very aware that this is a very clear possibility, right? So it's like kind of something like this, or that's kind of your bearish and bullish scenarios. So it's like Tesla alone would say this. If you consider everything going on in markets and there's no like short seller problem here for Tesla, which we do know people try to short the hell out of Tesla. If you take those two things into consideration, you're just like, okay, well, then it's this if it's bullish, it's kind of this if it's bearish. I think we have time here. I still think we can ping pong. I still think the SPY could go up. And, you know, Opti, I think it was Opti, it's still good to pay attention to how this can be irrational. I like it, Raji. That's fine. Yeah, it sounds like you have a plan you're kind of trying to execute there. So I'd say, yeah, as far as it goes, Jack Cats, I think it's more like if I'm using it kind of as a search engine for little things, that's fine. But if I'm trying to actually have it think for me to find a solution, that's where I kind of have a problem. AI is a great teacher. Depends on what it's teaching you. The questions I've asked it about certain topics, that's all I'm saying. It's kind of hard to explain, but maybe a foolish, but at least it's a plan. Hey, I like a plan. We have wifey's family's coming into town this week, so I'm gonna have to hop off in about 20 minutes. So if you guys have stocks you guys want me to look at, I am perfectly open to doing that right now. We have about 20 minutes left. I gotta take these headphones off. I hate these. I need to go pick up my new ones. My headphones came back in, the ones that I returned. Hood. Okay. Let's start off. We're gonna start off here. Go look at Hood. Hood, not a very good look here for Hood for the time being. 2-hour pullback would be overall what you're looking for here. Nothing too drastic, to be honest. And then if you just see this thing scale up, right? If we see it kind of drop really, really far, you just want to be open to those lower highs, right? But the main thing is this is still very positive. So if it curls up at any time in a positive territory, you always got a shot to do what? Test that previous high, go make a new one. Yeah, that's what it really looks like from the 2-hour for Hood. I don't think it's too crazy. Oh, VIX can fill gap, and I'm perfectly fine with it. VIX can do whatever it wants to do, honestly, and we can manage trades, right? It's like, if this goes wrong, then I am wrong, and therefore we maybe go up, right? What is, have I looked at Sim before? You'd still be looking 2-hour pullback, and you might have 30-minute double top here in some fashion. I don't think the divergence is going to be like clearly confirmed, but you see how you peek your head above? So if this 30-minute can curl up, that would be a good thing. Overall, just moving sideways, right? It would still be like, hey, I'm still on the horse. Still positive. But if it wants to go down deeper, look for that 5. Look for actual like 2-hour pullback. Maybe we drag this out down to here. You see this kind of go down to this level, and you just have to be simple about it. But right now, it's really elevated. So to make a decision on this while it's very elevated, big problem. But it does look like it can continue, even if it pulled back. You just want to see how aggressive that pullback is. If you pull all the way down like this, and your MACD is still by the center line, and it curls up, what would you be looking for? Oh, what about that right shoulder over here? Left head, right shoulder. So it depends on how aggressive, if it does. As of right now, it's just moving kind of sideways. So overall, pulling back with time. Starting to get a little aggressive, so we'll see. Microsoft, I'm still in the inclination that the 30-minute can make a move here. I still think that this is something that you can't ignore. And so if that is able to curl up, then is the 2-hour going to be able to keep, are we going to keep going down? No, if the 30-minute curls up, the momentum's shifting this way, right? What you look for here is, oh, everyone sees this, and then it curls up, and they go, yes, this is it, and then it curls down, and you go, oh, okay, right? So you need to see a pretty good squeeze moment here. You don't want to make divergence in the near term, in my opinion. Go to Palantir. Palantir, that 2-hour looks like it wanted to get going again. Now, Palantir, our assessment on Palantir was it was going to try to bounce from these type of levels. This could technically be a good thing for Palantir. It hasn't lost the zone. So you want to see if that positivity continues. But overall, it lost this area, and now it's coming back into here, right? So if you're going to make that right shoulder, you can go a little bit higher up, right? But overall, if this curls down on the 2-hour, it's in negative territory. So if it curls down on the 2-hour, downside, probably a new low. If the 30-minute says anything here, it says, I'm extremely positive, though. So do you think that's going to happen right now? Palantir itself, right? The stock itself of Palantir, the actual ticker would say, hey, we can pull back and then curl up one more time. And then we'll see if a divergence pops up over here to give you that type of signal. That's kind of what is suggested here for Palantir. Target, I've been long on for a while. As far as long, I mean, I've been invested in this for a little bit. I like Target. I loved Target in this zone. I just bought it and didn't really blink. That's how I like to do investments. You don't hear me talk about Target all the time, even though I am invested in it. This is something that I'm planning on holding for a long time, but it is nice to see the daily chart go positive. Daily chart crosses, daily pullback. Right now, it looks like you are experiencing a 2-hour pullback for the time being. So the next time that you would say, hey, there's a swing trade to the upside would be if the 2-hour is able to give you those good confirmations. Or if the 30-minute's able to do what? Oh, give you some kind of hint, right? Give you that little divergence or a higher low. This is why I like skills on multiple time frames, so I can get into it a little bit earlier. You're able to find something suitable, I hope. Hey, send me an email with what it is, Richard. I'm going to see him this afternoon. I can show it to him and see if he's like, yeah, that's pretty good. I'll have him rate it from 1 to 10 for you. And as long as you're above like a 5, you're probably good, you know? Whirlpool, WHR. And then we'll go look at volatility for a second. WHR Did I miss one up here? APLD. Rajiv, I'll look at APLD in a second. Okay, let me screenshot it, and I can send it over to him. Okay. Because, like, I kind of know, but I don't want to suggest when I just know he knows more, right? It's kind of like, why would I? I'm going to suggest him. For Whirlpool, as far as opportunity goes, you would be looking for areas in here and in here for those to pull back into to go higher as far as it stands. Mainly, you're just like, hey, is this really high up on the 2-hour? Yes. So am I maybe getting a little bit of FOMO? Right, just ask that question. Hey, am I kind of FOMOing here? This is pretty vertical. We're kind of in that last little piece here. Yeah, it can go higher, but how much higher can it go? If it goes extremely higher, am I just like, am I thinking there's going to be a squeeze? If you know more than I do and you think there's going to be another squeeze, hey, power to you. You can execute trades. I would suggest having a plan for if it goes wrong, but the next time where it's a little bit easier might be on a 2-hour pullback down into something like 102, down into maybe even gap fill towards 96, and then you're able to do what? Curl up into positive territory. I think that's the easier way and simpler way to look at this for now. Let's go into a 30-minute. It looks like the 30-minute did already show those divergences and confirm them, but at the same time, you're still above the 5, so you can go make another one. If we go make another one, watch out for some kind of oopsie to happen. If you start to confirm a divergence and lose the 5, that is when you are very likely to actually see the real 2-hour pullback. Yeah, we're probably the same boat, right, Richard? We're probably pretty similar. Let me go look at VIX, and then we'll look at APLD. VIX is trying to get moves, right, but keeps wicking out. Trying to get moves, wicks out. Trying to get moves, wicks out. Once again, unless volatility is turning down on the 2-hour and the daily chart at the same time, and even the 2-hour is still slightly positive. It's not necessarily in the area where you feel too good about it, but I just want to show you what happened previously, okay? Especially this time right here. Big gap up, big gap up. And I'm not saying it has to be the same. It will rhyme, it won't repeat. But if this is going to behave anyway similar, we could remain down here for a few days, maybe even going into Friday, meaning volatility can subside for a bit, but still remain slightly elevated. Or we could even this time go fill that gap before having to head up, right? Go fill this gap before heading up. The overall thing is this went positive and confirmed. The overall thing is this confirmed and hasn't gone positive yet. But look how close you are to the center line. You have so much risk here of a drop showing from volatility. It's insane. And a lot of people would say, oh, but the risk didn't come. It didn't come yet. Okay, just because something didn't come the exact next day doesn't mean that it's a good thing. Now, if the daily starts to confirm down, we start to make a new low, we can trail that down to 1504. But as you have confirmed this signal, I know it's a red bar, but it is a positive 8.74% bar. Actually, this has confirmed and says we are very likely to have a top here this week. Even if we want to fool around down here for 3 to 5 days. It's very likely we have a top this week. Now, am I saying major top? No, I think you're going to get a retracement, possibly for the SPY down to 585. That's my assessment at this point, is this zone is still there. I had to move the zone up because we extended the move. This hasn't had a good confirmation either. Different time frames, 2 hour might be a good week. Okay, so if you want to look at different time frames, what I try to do is say, if I look at anything, let me click on a random one. Let's do, I guess I got to be random. Let's just do like SoFi is going nuts. Let's look at this one. So SoFi is going nuts, right? And I see forms of what? Potential 2-hour divergence. But what do I look at first? I look at a daily chart and I go, man, that's up high. That looks like it needs to pull back. What causes a pullback on the daily scale? Well, a 2-hour divergence, okay? So a 2-hour divergence is there. Has it confirmed? No, but I can sit and watch this. I can sit and watch and say, hey, if I want to try to call some kind of top, okay. You know, bullish trades are pretty easy, but hey, we've been going up for a long time. SoFi is going to fall down. Okay, well, now you have a reason for the daily to actually pull back and this for this to potentially stop. But you don't have that, technically, you don't have that reason until you see a confirmation, a big sell-off bar right here to give you the structure to head down into this zone, right? So am I about to get the daily pullback? Possibly. And I can sit and pay attention. It doesn't have to give it, but I can pay attention, execute, and use my skills to try to make money. Now, if I'm looking at a 2-hour and I see divergence, if I'm lucky, I might see a 30-minute divergence here. So if I'm lucky, the 30-minute will show that divergence before the 2-hour is able to confirm. The 2-hour will confirm here. The 30-minute divergence could confirm here. I could be into the play, and then instead of just catching, let me clean it up. So instead of catching from the 2-hour to here, I can instead take the 30-minute and catch it from here to here. Does that make sense? So what you do is you look at the bigger time frame, you see if it's really high up, and then you look for 2-hour divergence. You look for the bigger time frame, and around this time we'll do the same. You look at the bigger time frame, and you see this, and you'll see this, and you'll say, where is the MACD? Well, the MACD is by that center line, and it hasn't curled up yet. What's the 2-hour look like? Oh, the 2-hour gave me 2-hour divergence. Okay, awesome. Now I can say this is very likely to pull up. And if I wanted to go super into it and really focus on the trade, which is what I do, I would look in here for 30-minute divergence, because in here you might see something like this that gets you in just a little bit earlier, meaning your trade isn't from here to here, but instead this little part might get moved down a little bit, meaning you get a great price. That was a lot. I understand it's a lot to take in, and maybe I didn't explain it the best this time, but hopefully that's able to help you in some way. So what I like to do is, if I like to take 2-hour plays, I look for dailies that are overextended, or I look for dailies that are close to the center line that look like they want to go for another move, and I'll look for 2-hour divergence or a 2-hour higher low. Does that kind of make sense? Paul? So the time periods lead into one another. Yeah, so weakness in a shorter time frame leads to weakness in a bigger one. Right? But you have to know the certain things that mean weakness. Is SoFi showing you that weakness? Well, technically, people would say yes. But I would say it is showing it to you, but it hasn't confirmed that it is weak yet. All right, Paul, that is a great, great question. 4-hour chart, I don't necessarily look at until, unless I'm looking at some kind of futures, like something that's more extended, like a Bitcoin, like something that trades more, that I need to extend out those time frames. So if you want to take into consideration like things that trade for more amounts of time, it goes regular hours. So regular is like the 30, the 2, and a daily. But let's say extended, if you wanted to do extended, then I would say it would be 2-hour, 4-hour, daily. So you see how, because you have, it just depends on what you're more comfortable with at that point and how you're trading, if you're trading futures and things like that. So like ES. So if I go look at ES, if I go look at ES, oh God, I started deleting it. Now I can't go backwards. Dang it. Give me 2 seconds here. So if I look at ES and I look at, say, a 30-minute or 2-hour chart, I can see similar things to the SPY and the Qs, but it doesn't necessarily mean the same amount. Okay, so if I look at the ES and I look at a 2-hour, I'm going to see all these 2-hour divergences right now. That's fine. That's why I'm saying like the 30-minute for the SPY is showing potential divergence when like something like this isn't. But if I extend that out to a 4-hour, you start to see a little bit more drastic things, right? You start to see those divergences. And these lead to what? Pullbacks. Pullbacks, pullbacks, pullbacks. But what I'm suggesting is eventually we are going to see something that pulls down this daily more aggressively, right? Almost like one of these moments right here. This could be all we see. We could see this into this. That's it. But you do have the 4-hour chart telling you that up here. So if you're going to use, and this is just my opinion, right? You can come up with your own conclusions, okay? And you can backtest and you can do your research and you can do your thing to find the type of charts that are best for you. Maybe you like hourly, maybe you like 15-minute, maybe you like 4-hour. Maybe like 4 hour for regular hours. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying what I like to do, and hopefully that helps you in some way. So you technically could use a 5 minute. So here is how you treat it. So let's do it like this. Let's do so daily. Let's say 2 hour, 30 minute, and then we'll put 5 minute way over here, right? So how this really goes is, and let's go things going wrong, like signals fail, or yeah, we'll say fail signal, right? Fail. So you are more often going to see divergences play out in some way on the bigger time frames. You are less likely to see crazier things all the time, but you are much more likely to see failures of signals on shorter time frames, like a 5 minute. This is a 5 minute. So this is something that is good to know. The daily can do the same thing. It can fail signals, but because you see less of those, because they're more important, because they have more momentum behind them, they actually have some more gas to them. So you are more likely to see pullbacks when you actually see a pullback signal on the daily or for a weekly chart. And then if you look at the 2 hour, yes, those fail more often, but not as often as a 5 minute chart. This is why day trading is so hard. People are not good at managing risk, and they think every single 5 minute divergence is going to cause some kind of 10-point move to the upside. But they don't know that more often than not, what I like to treat this as is like roulette. If I sit in front of a roulette table for 60 rolls, I'm going to run into way more problems than if I just walked up to the table once or say or played my strategy 5 times. I might miss once. Maybe I'll miss twice based on the strategy I'm doing. But if I do it for 60 rolls, well, now I might lose 30 times or 20 times. Okay, so as you get into the shorter time frames, you have to pay more attention. This is why I like to do like more time to expiration. This is why I like to do a lot of things with patience, because I just think that running into those failures, I don't like the stress. I don't. I like to be able to spend time with my family. And if I'm sitting there having to stare at a 5 minute chart all day, then how am I going to spend time with my family? The point that I had with trading was to be my own boss. The point to have with me starting my trading journey was overall to open up my time to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And so that's why I don't do a 5 minute chart, is for that simple explanation of you run into crazier things. You run into more failures of signals as the chart gets smaller and smaller. Go look at a 1 minute chart, go look at 1 minute divergences, and then go look at how many times those fail. They fail way, way, way more often than the daily chart that makes a triple divergence and then falls. How long did it take me to reach profitability? That's kind of an interesting question. I'll take that into consideration with everything that we talk about here. It took me about, with everything that I talk about here on this channel, right? Everything that I talk about here and everything that I've done as far as trading now, it took me about a year once I put all that together, I would say, to be consistently profitable. Let's put it that way. I needed the time and market to test a lot of these things, to see my emotions with a lot of these things. But what I'm trying to do is say the things we talk about now are a lot different than me when I was swing trading. When I was swing trading was pretty simple. I was pretty profitable right away. But as it gets more complex, as you try to make more money more often, you can run into more problems. So I'd say about a year, but I was very obsessive. You can ask my wife. I'm an obsessive person. When I'm interested in something, I am interested in it, and I will study it like a nerd. I'm a nerd. You guys know that, right? But yes, you will run into problems. You will run into times where you make wrong decisions with position size that sets you back for a month. You will run into that early on. What I try to do on this channel is tell you about those times for myself so that you can go into it a little bit more cautious, maybe a little bit better with the management of risk. Something that I didn't do early on was manage risk. I thought that I was just the shit and things were always going to work. And then Zillow put me in my place. And then after that moment, I started to treat management of risk more seriously. And that was about when that year started to fully come to fruition and I was able to consistently be profitable. And the big switch for me, and I am going to look at your stuff, Kevin. I see your thing. I saw it, Kevin, and I'm so sorry that I didn't get to it right away. The biggest thing for me is humbling yourself, coming to the conclusion of I can be wrong. Back then, all the signals were working out all the time until they didn't. And when they didn't, I had been so cocky that I risked too much money. And it took like a $4,000 to $6,000 in a day loss for me to get punched in the face. You know, that punch to the gut that says, "Hey, you're too cocky. Humble yourself, buddy." And that's what really unlocked it for me. I hope it does the same for you. Fake Kevin. All right, let's see. People are asking about UNH. We'll check on gold in a second. And then I'll probably have to hop off. UNH, I'll look at AES. Thank you for the $2. I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry for oh, there's two. Let's see if Kevin's still here. I feel bad. I respect people's money, even if it's $2. I respect everyone's money. So I feel bad that I kind of skipped over that. I don't have my headphones on, so I don't hear when someone does something. I started by gambling on earnings reports. Hey, people can be good at that. I think price action people are the best people to pay attention to for earnings. And I can sit here and say, like, I'm not the absolute best price action person. I understand it. But a price action person mixed with probably an Elliott Wave person at the same time, like that little mix together would probably be the better thing for earnings. But you can just see a wild move on earnings. So I don't like to play them. As far as UNH goes, we're in the zone. Not auto zone, but we're in the zone. We're accumulating. If you get daily confirmations that you need to retest these lows, that is a possibility, but very nice for UNH to go to this point. That's nice. If you look at a 2-hour chart right now, it is positive. So if you're going to continue to make these new highs and not necessarily violate those lows, then this is technically a positive trend. Even price action would agree that this could be. Now, you always have the chance that you're doing something funky to curl down the daily chart. So if you see a 2-hour that like rolls up and shows you that lower high and then rolls down, be a little bit cautious, right? But if the 2-hour confirms up, then that would say swing trade me and see if I can test the high and go make a new one. And then your management for the trade should be anything before then. So no confirmation of the next move higher yet. I looked at UNH at this level, and how we talked about it was more so on the investment side of things, less so on the more so on the investment side of things, less so on the option side of things, right? Because this is going to be something that really broke down. This is going to be something that you have to know that this is going to be able to come back if you're wanting to invest in it. And this is a good level to invest. You are getting pretty much you're close enough to 2020 pricing, but you see how low that can really go in this zone of 192.49. So technically you're in an accumulation zone. I think you would look at this more from an investment standpoint. AES looks a lot different, right? From the daily scale, we see it getting tight. We see it trying to confirm divergence. It looks like it has. It dipped down to make a higher low. That's fantastic. It looks very, very nice. Okay? So if this was able to make this new high here, really break above all of this nonsense we've been going through, this could be a good thing. You see all the divergence down here. You see how it held on the RSI. This looks like AES is going to try to turn up and get a good weekly move, meaning we're actually going to see a weekly move that tries to go test something like 1782. Right? You might run into problems on the way up. Looks like you keep running into this problem right here. You see that? That like buyers turn into sellers, right? Turns into resistance. So you'd be kind of looking at this area and just going, okay, but if this is able to curl up, I'd be looking for it to test anywhere from here to here. And if you're able to break above all of that, you can curl down and retest that to actually go for the next leg higher. So I think you're looking at it at the right time. You might even have monthly. Yeah, actually, you might even have like monthly flatness here. So that can be a big deal. So we'll see if this is able to be a good investment over time, but it's proving to be like showing some interesting things as far as it stands. And if you're seeing good things yourself, and you just have to have that plan for if it goes wrong, and that's about it. Tesla, there is divergence on the 2-hour RSI. Yes, you are correct. IWM breaks above 22 today. I think it could. Thought on SPY. Thoughts on the SPY back over 621.50. Thoughts on the SPY going back over 621.50 today. I still believe that the SPY can go reach up and tag 624. You haven't really gotten a good confirmation for this, but you're starting to on the RSI. You might in the price action right here. So I'd be paying attention to now. I think that it's a very good possibility. I think it's a very good probability according to your daily expected moves that you can see a 621.50. It's actually very probable that you could see 624 by the end of the day. Now, if it's kind of a dry day, you don't always want to be like, we have to tag these every day. You tag them roughly any expected move, weekly, monthly, daily. It's about 75% of the time, I would say. From my research, I would say about 75% of the time you'll tag the move. So considering the fact we tagged the move and broke it yesterday, you could take that into consideration, or you could just say, hey, a 30 minutes going to swing to the upside here, and 624 is a great place to pay attention. If I see anything bad before then, I'm out, or if I like the money before then, I'm out. Day trading is its own beast because all they have to do is shoot it up like this, and you go, oh, it's getting to 624. Then they go flat for the entire day, ruin the option, close out your option, and then they go up in the last 30 minutes. That happens way more often than you think. Right? All these people here, short, 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 short. Oh, we're going to bounce, right? Into the end of the day. Yeah. That's how I see it for now. Okay, let's go look at GLD real quick. Let's look at GLD. Let's see if we can derive anything from that. Ooh, we're breaking down. Ooh, we're breaking down. 2-hour confirming to the downside. So we're not able to confirm the signal. We actually reject. Very interesting. This is why we mentioned, I think it's weird that gold would want to go up at the same time as the dollar, but hey, is what it is. As of right now, if people aren't flying into gold, I don't really see how they're flying into safety. But did you ever confirm the 4-hour move up? You did on a bad confirmation. So you have to understand what a bad confirmation is. We explained that earlier. If you're going to turn up from here, look for 2-hour divergence right here for gold. But unless that 2 hours curling up, this thing is just pointing straight down as far as futures goes. As far as GLD goes, what would you like to see? You'd like to see the 30-minute be able to curl back up, right? And I would be using gold futures a little bit for direction here. No, I don't think there is. I think you would have to, as far as it goes, I don't do that, Matthew. So what you would want to do is give yourself plenty of time utilizing that, not using large amounts and things like that. You would want to really put enough time in looking at markets in that way to be very confident in it. If that makes you more confident and those play out at a higher percentage than 50%, that's all you need to make money if you have good management of risk. All you have to do is be right 51% of the time with good management of risk, and you make money. And actually, if you really consider it, you could be right 50% of the time with good management of risk, because it's not like gambling. You can take the money off the table. As far as IWM goes, and let me look at Tesla real quick again. I wanted to see. Yeah, still doing good for Tesla. We'll look for rejection here. But you do have signals, and the 2-hour is suggesting that you have 2-hour divergence on the RSI, not necessarily the MACD at the same time. It's a little bit down there. So you have one. So pretty much you have two reasons for the trade. This can reverse around daily charts, which I think is wild. So if I'm already in this, hey, I'd be in at this one right here. I'm not inclined to take a bullish trade while volatility has the shape it has. But hey, people like other sorts of risk. I would be looking first if the 30-minute ever rolls down in this area. If the 30-minute rolls down into negative territory, that would be a failure. But right now you have confirmed those signals. So Matthew, though, just to double down, nothing wrong with any way that any of you look at a certain thing that gives you that over a 50% that you're right. You just want to make sure that those percentages are there by having a lot of time in market. Justin, you want to look at are you saying Deflix, like Netflix, Justin? You want to look at Netflix real quick? We can look at AMD. AMD also had divergence on the 30-minute. You have divergence on the 30-minute for AMD, and it's seeing positivity. Like this is really saying I want to go test these levels up here or go make a new high. So AMD is showing something wild for right now, and it's showing something totally contradictory to like stuff like NVIDIA. So I think that's super interesting, but this is a 30-minute signal that can cause a 2-hour reaction to the upside. You look for the 30-minute to rotate and go negative just like Tesla if it's going to fail. I'm going to look at IWM now. I was just popping over to AMD. IWM, I still believe that IWM can make a new high here. Maybe I'll eat those words, but IWM does not have the reversal signals that the SPY and the Qs do, that the SPX 500 and the Qs do. Neither does DIA. So someone brought up industrials yesterday, and I think that's a perfectly fine thing to say. It's still the same scenario of if I ever make a lower high and lose the 5, it's not necessarily a good thing, but I've never really broken lows here. So if you want, you watch for the lower high, you watch for divergence, but it really looks like IWM wants to test this high and go make a new one. And the 2-hour chart is not necessarily in a risky spot yet. You see how you could quickly get into a risky spot if you made divergences up at this level. It wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing in the world. This is what we wanted to happen for IWM to raise the floor. We wanted this to peek its head above this dotted line so that if we get a daily pullback, if we even get it, we can see positivity later on. I don't think this is the right zone. It would be in here. That's where we wanted to get to. Yeah, that's where we wanted to get to. And then this would actually be the area for IWM. You lose that, it gets worse, but you do have a bunch of things below you. So you could go to here. You could go to like here, 203. You could go to all the way down to 198 if you really wanted to. Maybe gap fill. Maybe you say 197. But for now, you just don't have the same signals as everywhere else. Look, you have no 2-hour divergence. So I think that's very interesting. So I think you do have the opportunity for positivity to continue. Right? If I look at a stock and there's no weakness in momentum and I tell you, oh no, it's going to be super negative. One, that doesn't make sense. Now, take it with a grain of salt this time just because a lot of other places are suggesting they are tapped out. Yes, Netflix. Okay, we'll look at Netflix. So Marcus, this is what I would see, and I would say that the most probable thing is to test the high and go make a new one. So if oh god dang it, I clicked that damn button again. So if I take into consideration like weekly expected moves, then I can say IWM could get as high as like 229 if it really wanted to break through and see something crazy. But as of right now, I'm inclined to watch for any kind of 30-minute divergence right here for a potential, if we make 2-hour divergence, we'll look for daily pullback. So we need another, to see if this is going to do this and then this, we're going to need another day. But right now, what's happening in front of you is you're curled up and you're very likely to test this high, go make a new one, unless you fail. You see that roll back down really close to the center line for the MACD. Let's go look at Netflix, and then I do have to take off, guys. Netflix here. Ooh. Well, good thing we already had a drawing here. So what I was looking for, I was suggesting if we're going to reverse down, then it would be left head, right shoulder. As of right now, even if the 2 hours, so do you see, this is an example of it starting to escalate to the point where even though it's positive, you could see a reaction up that just fails, right? You get a lower high. As of right now, you're kind of inclined to pay attention to lower levels. If you look at a 30-minute chart, we do see forms of 30-minute divergence, but this is like really scaling up pretty, or going down pretty quick. So you might have a long time here to head in the downward direction, and this is overall a bad thing because the daily scale does have divergence on the MACD, not necessarily on the RSI at the same time, right? So this could be brief, right? This could be more brief. It could just be a pullback again. But if it's going to be extended for a period of time, then I think that would go down and test this area towards 1058. So there's a few areas to pay attention to here. One would be about 1200. One would be about 1137. And the next one, if you're not able to hold up at this white line, ooh, it might be all the way down towards like, yeah, let's take the top side of here and say 990. I don't think it'll get that drastic for Netflix, but you never know. I don't think it gets drastic for Netflix unless like it's tied to like an AMC GME problem or something. Speaking of, ooh, ah, that's it. I'm not going. All right. I might have to get back on this. Yep. All right, we'll give it a go. All right. All right. What do we do? End of month. Maybe give it a full 30 days. Maybe do next expiration, next OpEx. $500 goes a decent way here. Alrighty, now for AMC, I don't treat it like a trade that I don't treat it like a trade that I'm like, oh yeah, I want to take this strike and get above this price and then sell it at a week. No, with AMC, I'm going to be very honest with you. I just want to be a part of the big move if the problem's real. If the problem's real and the problem comes to light and this thing booms to $20 or something like that, that's what I want to be a part of. So I just wanted to mention that. Hey Jomo, sorry guys, I'm not able to like hear the donations, but I do appreciate it. If you guys see that other Kevin come back in here, make sure he knows we did go over those two stocks. I just wasn't able to hear it in my ear, so we got to it a little bit late. Exit calls for short-term bounce. If you had weekly expected move, that would help you. I don't have weekly expected move as of right now for Netflix, but all right, guys, so I do have to hop off. We got some things to get to. It looks like volatility is continuing to go lower and lower and lower, but still elevated at this point. I just wanted to point out times where we do retest the 5 for when we confirm these type of signals. We have confirmed them all. We do see us at the 5. Don't be convinced like, oh, volatility is completely done here. But if you were looking for a time where volatility is going to go up, right now you're not seeing that. So you need the 30-minute to curl up off this level to at least have a chance. And if you take into consideration the past, we can remain down here and make 30-minute divergence around this area. Look at right here, look at the higher low, and then we went higher. So this could leak out for a few more days, but it does look like we have confirmed signals that suggest that we have a top here and we are going to see some kind of pullback or some kind of retracement. Thank you guys for being here. Blessings to everyone. Yeah, I'm going to say that right back at you, Mr. Joshua. Appreciate you guys being here. Bye, and look forward to tonight's video. That's right. Tonight we're going to have a video out there based on what happens in the market because we're starting to see some things go interesting all the time. We want to see if those 30-minute signals play out for Tesla. We're going to go over a lot of that stuff tonight. I'm going to try to give a pretty extensive video if we see some interesting things. So thank you guys for being a part of this community, liking, subscribing, doing all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. We love having this community with us. You know, we have so much fun with it. And thank you guys for listening to my random ADHD moments as well. I know those can be pretty annoying. Have a great day. Good luck on your plays, but especially I'm going to wish you strength in your skills, strength in your management for your trades, strength in your management of risk. I think that's a great, great thing. Have a great one, guys. Peace out. Okay, we got to put you guys on the spot, you know. See you guys.